Hi, everybody. Good morning, afternoon, good evening to everyone. So today is our first general meeting of the year, and we would like to update you guys and ask for some suggestions and talk to you guys about new things that are coming up and to hear also your voices, which is very important for the network. Because this is ours, as we try to keep it very clear. So I'll begin with the agenda. The agenda is the introduction, where we're going to talk about the new teams, their new teams coming to the network, and the presentation series, and then we'll go to updates and announcements. Where we'll talk, and then housekeeping, and then general meetings like the Bangkok one, and grad schools, hopefully in the future, and ideas. What are your ideas for what's next in the network? So for those that are just coming in, we're recording this this meeting for the people that are not were not able to join. Okay, so the new teams, we have 3 new teams, which is very exciting. We have an Argentinian team. They joined us a while ago, but it would be nice for them to present themselves and talk a little bit of their project so everybody can know what they're doing. And
we actually have Daniel and Haley here. I see, and maybe other members of the team, but maybe you guys can introduce yourselves.
Sure, no problem. No, it's only Haley and I today.
Okay.
Demian and Mariana finally couldn't join us. So hello everyone. My name is Daniel Cossack. I'm a professor at the University of Buenos Aires and senior researcher at the Argentinian National Research Council. And along with Haley, Demian, Mariana, and Rodolfo, who cannot join us today, we work in a Medrano stream basin in the metropolitan area and the city of Buenos Aires. That it's called the Medrano stream, that it's already profiled in your website. So it's a pleasure to join you. Thanks.
Great, welcome. And we have a French team in Lyon.
Yashin is here.
Yashin is here.
Everyone, can you hear me well?
Yes.
Okay. So it's very nice to meet you all. My name is Yixing. I'm a postdoc researcher at University of Lyon. So here we are actually a studio called Baignade en rivière urbaine, which means urban river bathing or swimming, at the lab called LabX EMU. So here we are studying a very specific phenomenon of urban rivers, which is also a very new recreational use of the rivers in especially European cities, swimming or bathing in the rivers. This is also more and more popular initiative along with the Paris Olympic Games, which wants to open the River Seine for public swimming in the year 2025. So here we are analyzing the opportunities as well as all the risks related to it. And we are very happy to join this network and happy to meet you all.
Nice, welcome as well. And we have a Canadian team. I don't think they joined because it's a bit too early for them.
Western Canada, so we fully understand that it's too early for them. We have to grapple with the time zones now. Now we have everywhere from Australia to Western Canada. So this is posing new problems in terms of when is the best time to organize these kinds of meetings. So your suggestions are welcome. Maybe we could not always put Europe center in terms of the time in the future, but yeah.
Yeah.
But it's on the website. Their project is, no, it's not yet complete, I think, but coming.
Yeah, it's good. And the next presentation for the presentation series will be in the end of June. It's me and my team will present our project. We haven't picked a date yet, but that's going to be discussed here, and we'll announce it soon. Yeah, for the introduction, I think that's about it.
Yep.
No.
So the next item is a couple of announcements and updates. There's a bunch of things going on sort of behind the scenes, and we just wanted to share those with you. Not news yet, but I think, well, a couple of things have been announced, and maybe we should just make everyone aware of them. The next event actually is this month, from 15th to the 22nd. Our colleagues in Udine, Italy, are organizing the Inland Waterways conference. So this is the first conference with which RCN is associated. RCN is one of the partners, along with University of Udine and Ca' Foscari University in Venice. It's a very exciting conference for which a lot of papers were submitted. There'll be a bunch of panels. I think there's something like 45 speakers over several days in Udine, in Northeast Italy. So that's coming up from the 15th to 22nd of May. And of course, we will try to share with you what comes out of the conference and put that on our website as well. So that's in May. And then, as most of you know, in July, we have the ICAS convention in Surabaya, East Java, Indonesia. And there, we had funds to invite about 12 people from the RCN network to come and join in a joint roundtable panel together with another research network, the CNET, Southeast Asia Neighborhoods. And we have a joint roundtable spread out over 2 sessions, which is around community engagement methods. So I'm very happy to announce that we have 12 really nice RCN contributors there, along with our CNET colleagues. And on August 2nd, we will organize a boat trip. North of Surabaya is the Gresik, Kabupaten Gresik Regency. We are planning a boat trip, what used to be the river delta of the Bengawan Solo River. The river now flows differently, but we hope to organize a trip that looks at the waterways there. And this will be, I guess, the first example of what one of the methods we discussed in our meeting in Bangkok last year, looking at the water from the water. So a boat trip to try to analyze, to have a water-based perspective instead of just looking at the water from the land. But for those people who have registered, who are joining us in Surabaya, we will get back to you about the route of the boat and the details. So what else? I guess there's a bunch of things we would like to organize in the future, but we'll discuss that after some housekeeping announcements. So Satya, back to you. Did I miss anything?
The proposals.
Ah, yes, very good. There's a couple of proposals that we are working on and that we would like to start working on. One of them is a cost actions. Here in Europe, there's a cost actions initiative, unfortunately focused on European partners, but we hope with our core European partners to be able to bring in teams from the rest of the world also. So we are going to start coming together. We came together already once as European partners to discuss what we would like. I think we even have a title, Living with the River. And around that theme, we will discuss a number of initiatives that hopefully will qualify for this cost funding. They're hard to get, so our expectations are not super high, but at least I think we should go for it. Another proposal we've been yes. Someone. Oh, it's my echo. I think,
Somebody's mic is on.
okay, I think it's over
It's
now.
open.
Okay. So we've been approached by Rockefeller Brothers Fund to apply for some event-based funding. So we have, depending on their needs and sort of preferences, we will approach some of you to see if we can organize and host 2 events hosted by some of the teams, and that would bring in partners from the other teams as well. So as soon as we have more information, we will also share this with you. But this will hopefully be for 2 events sometime next year and the year after that. I think that's all we can say for now on these kinds of updates. Satya, should we talk about some housekeeping?
Let's talk about the housekeeping. So remember in Bangkok, we created thematic groups, and we were hoping that these thematic groups would take shape and go forward from Bangkok. And we haven't heard anything from these groups. So the groups were, just to remember, just to remind everybody and those that weren't
Present.
in Bangkok, present in Bangkok, to know a little. So it was development and planning. The second group was community. The other group was living heritage. And the last group was
Governance,
river health.
no? Oh, river health, yeah.
Yeah, development and planning is governance.
Yeah.
So these groups were formed during Bangkok, and we were hoping that it would take shape. So Paul and I were thinking that maybe these groups could create a webpage and be included in the River City's webpage. So let's see how that's gonna work.
Well, I think we should invite those of you, if you still remember who was the
leader.
the leads of the 4 teams, and there's a communications team as well. I think there was Mandy and Thomas. If you can please create at least send a short description of your thematic group and who's the lead, and send that to Thomas via us or directly to Thomas. Then we can create a web page for each of the thematic groups, right? That's the idea.
I think so. That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, and then ideally, of course, we'd like these thematic groups to start also thinking in terms of what do you want, working together on planning events, initiatives. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so that's all on the thematic groups. Now we move on to the blog. So we have we created a blog. I'm not sure if you guys
Blog page on the web platform. Yeah.
blog page on the web page. And we only have one post. The blog is for everybody, so it would be great to hear from all the teams, update on your projects or a new member of your team, anything that you think is relevant for your project and for the network to be aware and know. Please do share. And that is also through Thomas. Giving the word to Thomas.
He's waving friendly.
Yeah, so that's also through Thomas. And also Paul and I were talking about the presentation series. This year we had one, and we're gonna have the next one end of June. But we were thinking of the new teams. We wanted to suggest for the new teams to present themselves in the presentation series for the network. This way we are all up to date on everybody's projects. And for those that have not presented, we do encourage you to do so. It would be really nice to hear from your projects, and And please do approach us if you're interested. We do encourage you. And it's also very exciting that we are looking into a software that can translate to English. So when you're presenting, you can present in your language, and the subtitles will be written in English, so everybody can feel more comfortable, and everybody can speak. That's the idea, right? So hopefully we're going to be able to use that during my presentation in June. And let's see how that works. Hopefully that's gonna work well.
Yeah, we'd like to pilot this because we think if this works properly, and we've discussed it a bit with Thomas, and maybe some other of you have some experience with this, but good programs that are able to instantaneously provide English subtitles for whatever language is spoken. If this works well, then we can do this on a bigger scale, and this would make the network more global, less sort of dependent on just a couple of people who speak good English, perhaps in some teams, right? So this would open up, I think, more horizons and more possibilities for different teams. So I don't know if any of you have experience with this kinds of systems, what kind of programs that you have experience with that work well for this. Are there any experiences that people could share?
I think we check it out for a moment, shortly, and I think Teams has this feature built in, but I'm not sure actually.
Microsoft Teams.
Yeah. There's this kind of AI component built in where it's been translated automatically. But let's check
it out. I saw that Zoom has it as well.
Oh,
So,
okay.
yeah, let's check it out.
Are there any of you for whom Microsoft Teams is not an option in your countries?
Here in Iran, it's not going to work sometimes very well. So it depends, internet connection and stuff.
I see. But is Zoom better for you, Arash?
Zoom is better for me, for Iran, not for.
Okay. And so Zoom, if Satya, what you're saying is that it works on Zoom, then maybe we should try that. But the point is we have to experiment a little bit with what works and what's accessible for people. But we're going to try to implement this. I think that makes sense for a global network like ours. Okay, that's for the housekeeping announcements. So by the way, in our discussion, and you can come back to us with any of the points that we raise, right? So we just want to get through a number of points and then we'll open the floor.
Yeah.
So the last category is sort of looking forward, strategic events. And so we have, as you know, RCN at the moment is operating on some seed money from my institute, IIAS in Leiden, where Thomas is also affiliated and Satya was affiliated. So this works well for co-funding, but the point is we still, to do interesting things where we can bring together the partners, we rely on your co-funding as well. So we have co-funding for another event like we organized in Bangkok last year. And I think those of us who were there in Bangkok in November last year, it was a very nice event. And we would like to do that again. The purpose of these, let's say, face-to-face meetings is to bring us together physically. And I think the sharing, the networking is so much easier when that happens, and it's so much more fun. And we can do that in one of the locations where we have teams. So that's the idea, right? At the same time, the host team can introduce their project and can introduce us to the issues that they're working on. That's the idea. So here's an invitation to all of you who would like to host the next face-to-face meeting. And hosting also means that you co-fund as much as possible. And that includes things like facilities, possibly co-fund accommodation, excursions, right? Meals, catering. There is no hard and fast rule, but as much as possible, co-funding allows us to do more with the event, to bring in more people.
And to have more events.
And to have more events, of course. So with co-funding, perhaps this is a better model for the future. Instead of waiting around for big money to fall from the sky, we can, in the meantime, do more and more events on a co-funding basis, which require perhaps less external money in the future. So this is one of the things we discussed in Bangkok. So that's an open question. Think about it. The meeting that we have in mind, the second face-to-face meeting, would be second half 2025. So that still gives us enough time to plan, prepare, and put it in our agendas, hopefully. So we're open to suggestions.
And what about the components?
Sorry?
The components.
The components. Okay, so this is the second but related topic is, as you know, we have 3 components that sort of tie us together in RCN. Each team is supposed to be working on these 3 components: the river bios, which is the historical exploration of sort of the history of the disruption issue that you are working on in your projects. The second is a mapping component, where you, and many of you are already working on this, mapping the situation. And mapping can take many different forms. It can be counter mapping, mapping to sort of include what's usually not included in mapping. But that's a very interesting set of tools in the second component around mapping. And the third component is river revitalization or waterway revitalization. So most of you are working on rivers, canals, waterways, where there are some challenges, to say the least, right? So how do you start to confront those challenges, not just at an academic and scholarly level, but also on the ground? So those are the 3 components. And to start to, and I think the teams are working on these at various paces, right? At your own pace. We haven't really organized events around these 3 components yet, but we were thinking perhaps the next event, the next face-to-face event, could be around the first 2 components, the river bios and the mapping. So that means we would organize, let's say, 2 days of discussions, sharing around those 2 components. That's one suggestion for how to give this shape, right? So how to give these components a more concrete shape. That's our idea, but we're open to your suggestions again. The other major format or product that that we have in mind for RCN, and we've done one of these last year already, is the grad schools. These are intense 1-week or 10-day workshops, which we call grad schools, aimed at the younger members of our teams, to bring them together around a set of issues or challenge confronted by one of the teams in our network. This worked very well, very nicely last year in Padova, in Italy, where we brought together, I think, about 16, 17 younger, and Alex is waving. Alex is one of the hosts. I almost didn't recognize you, Alex, because you cut your hair, I think.
Very lighter.
Lighter?
Yes. Facing the heat.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, I was thinking that how is so familiar, but I can't consider who is him.
So for those of you who haven't seen Alex before, last year he had long hair. So this year I thought we have a new team member here, but it's still Alex, but without his hair. He's starting to look a bit like me. Not that bad yet.
Yeah, I saw you, and when I saw you, I decided I had to change.
Ah, you're too kind. I hope it doesn't
By
get
the
this
way,
Like
bad.
hi,
many of
Alex.
us. Like many of us.
Yeah, exactly me.
Exactly. But anyway, Alex and his colleagues from the Padova team, from the biology department at University of Padova, were the hosts of a really fantastic grad school last year, Padova, which focused on the canal system in the city. So we're in discussion with some of you for the next grad school. You know who you are. I don't want to say anything yet until we break the news. But we are always open to more initiatives, more hosts for future grad schools, because we really think the grad schools can be a very nice what is it, like product or format for this network, bringing together especially the younger people around issues that are curated by like 3 more senior scholars. So check our website. I hope we've described well on our website what the outputs were of Padova. I haven't even checked actually, but there, for those of you who are interested in this format, you can also write to us for more details. And there is co-funding for this from IAS, and this is separate from RCN funding. That's why it's interesting. So we can organize more of these, again, on a co-funding kind of basis. I think this is, in a way, there's a lot more to say, but I think we should stop here and just invite you all to give your suggestions, respond to our points, ask questions, whatever, or engage in a discussion. Also, what would you like to see? What proposals do you have, etc. So let's open the floor now. Who wants to go first? I see lots of smiling faces.
Okay, I'm gonna go.
Arash, of course.
I see Satya actually had the reaction about that, and she knows that I always have something to say. Okay, Satya. Okay, thank you very much for all these new updates on RCN, and I'm so proud of being a member of this really, really exciting and high sophisticated group and network. For those who are not much familiar with me, I am Arash from Iran, and my case study is Bahmanshir in Stosafte, Iran. I was wondering about 3 points. 3 points actually after the wrapping up of the Bangkok results. The first one is the group activities, as we actually expected to start to group activities, and some of us tried to activate some social groups and social media stuff, but it seems that there are no intention and no passion to engage to group activities, and I'm wondering why this is happening and how we can do more to make it more hot in this term. Second one is that as I'm part of the GDP group, it means that government and development and program planning. I was so interested in making a proposal to prepare a guideline or a booklet for initiating or starting for preparing some instructions to get into planning for the river riverfront regeneration, riverfront revitalization, and stuff like this. And despite of this fact that I prepared a brief of some some items for research and for posing ideas about that, but there was no reaction from the others. And also I sent an email to the professor in Vietnam University. I can remember the exact name, but I didn't get any productive reaction from him. And I was wondering why actually it is not so interested in this term. And the third thing is that the funding for Iran, and Iran has some situation, and it seems that there are some limitations to come to Iran with some of your members and some of your countries. But still, I'm looking for a solution for co-funding about holding the events in Iran. Okay, that's me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Arash. So what is needed to get the thematic groups to start working? Maybe let's address that question. What do you think?
Yeah.
Anyone has any ideas? So let me just maybe recap the idea of the thematic groups, which were set up in Bangkok. The groups that Satya was outlining are that some of the teams might be interested to go a bit more in depth on these thematic issues and work together with teams who are working on the same thematic issues. That was the idea behind it. Even though we're still a network interested in the whole, right, the whole systemic issues, there might be a value added to working on these more thematic issues, and perhaps also organize events around it. But apparently, well, I think it could be something as mundane. Everyone's busy, right? And these thematic groups require just more work. But is there a way we could deal with this?
Yeah, and I think the thematic groups is just a kickoff. It's not, you don't have to fixate yourself in one thematic group. It's transferable. You can transfer to another one. Just we can kick off, so this can be something built by the network from everybody, and in the future we can all transfer. It's not fixed.
Yeah. Mandy, please.
Paul, I was just thinking on that, and it might be helpful if you or Satya or someone sent an email to everyone in the River Cities network, reminding them of each group and who's leading it and who was in it, and maybe give them one question to inspire them to connect. But sometimes small steps are easier than feeling a bit overwhelmed about trying to create a web page. So it's just an idea, but like a little check-in email and a reminder who is the leader, and what the aim and intention of those groups were, and maybe just a
okay, that's a
thought.
Suggestion. We can do that. Yeah. And I mean, no harm done if these thematic groups don't get off the ground, right? I mean, it means that for now, perhaps there's not the burning interest or motivation to do that. That might change as things develop, right? And there might be interest in newer thematic groups. Among the newer teams, for instance, the Western Canada team, your team, Satya, there's interest in indigenous groups, indigenous knowledge. So that could be let's say, a new thematic group in the future. But again, it depends on your motivation. These are your groups. So as a secretariat, it's not we won't be pushing you. This is really your own initiative. Any other thoughts on this? Okay, but we'll follow up on that, Mandy. Thanks for the suggestion. So, what do you think about our idea to start planning events, whether they're roundtables or another format, around these three components, right? The river bios, the mapping, and the revitalization issues. Do you think that makes sense? If we organize the next face-to-face meeting, that we use that to touch on the first two components, let's say. Any thoughts on this? Mohammed?
I think my remark, my observation is linked to the thematic group, because since the last meeting in Bangkok, my friend Nancy came and she explained to me at least 5 or 6 times how the thematic groups are supposed to work. Then later we created a group where we are with Arash, and till the moment I don't really grasp the functionality of those groups and how I can link it to my own project. So it ended up to me like I am thinking into two separated ways that are not able to meet. One where I have to put something into a thematic group, and one is my project. And I don't know, I don't find a connection, and it's a bit confusing. And it takes a lot of extra work, as you have mentioned, and also it takes from the motivation from one side to the other side. So I don't know if the thematic groups could be the same topic of the discussion for the next face-to-face meeting, or how we can merge the two things, because to me it's a bit confusing. I don't know how to deal with this. Also, one thing, maybe my group has went into one group, but I'm still interested in the other, which is connected to my core work also. So I feel that it caused more division than unity. So just thought.
Okay, I think that's a good point, right? Do the thematic groups have a value added? Christo?
Okay, let's go on with the discussion about the thematic groups. So in my point of view, I see a really good meaning in organizing those groups. Actually, I fully agree with Raj. They then don't really work well right now. I'm also part of the GDP group, but maybe in time, this thematic focus will turn more into, let's say, research or funding focus. So those groups will find their focus in time. I think that's the way to foster the development of these groups. I mean, finding more common activities, projects, and so on. But of course, maybe the first steps are really hard, and I see that in our group. Then let's move on to the next question. I fully agree, Paul, that organizing the next face-to-face meeting based on those 3 focuses in the RSN makes sense. Indeed, maybe if we concentrate on the first 2, it will be nice, because everyone is moving at a different pace. So maybe not all of us have have already results to show, considering the third focus. So given that the next face-to-face meeting is supposed to be next year, I think we'll have enough time to prepare at least for the 2 first focuses. So it will really structure well our efforts, and I think discussion on those topics will be fruitful for all of us. Thanks.
Okay, thank you for that input. As you were talking, I was thinking that as Satya announced, we're trying to get you guys to present your teams, your projects, but it doesn't have to be as formal as that, right? We could use the presentation series also to present your team's work so far on any of those components, right? The bios, the mapping work. We know some of your teams are doing very interesting work on mapping, for instance, right? So please share that with us, either in a blog form or give a presentation. And that's one of the things this network is seeking to do, is to bring all of you in touch with each other and to learn from each other. So those of you who attended the presentation last month by the Richmond River team, it was really fascinating. And there's so much, I think, to learn from what's going on there. That I think that we can use the presentation series, not just as formal introductions of your team, but also on your progress, let's say, or your challenges, right? With the bios or with the mapping, with the revitalization challenges. I think there's a lot to discuss there. So feel free to propose a presentation session. To share, yeah. And while we're talking about the presentations again, Satya said we wanted to invite the new teams to present. In fact, we want to invite all of you to present, but the Buenos Aires team and the Lyon team, we're going to ask you guys to present your projects when you are ready. And we're going to invite the Western Canada team as well. We thought it would be nice for every team that joins for the rest to get to know them through this presentation series. So when you're ready, please let us know, and then we'll try to find the right timing for this. Danielle, oh, was that a question, or you're just putting a thumbs up?
Yeah, I think we're both putting our thumbs up, and I would like to suggest, Paul, that given that there'll be 12 of us in Indonesia, that's a really good opportunity for me to understand more about the network and to think about what we might share from our research in Argentina to present to the team. So perhaps sometime after that conference, if that suits you.
Of course.
And it's been fascinating to listen to the conversations here, and I wanted to agree with what Risto was just saying in terms of the way that the collaboration and the thematic collaboration might evolve as more alignment or collaboration opportunities become clearer, or more overlap and synergies. And certainly for us being very new to the network, we look forward to that in future. And through listening, it was great to listen to the Richmond River team a couple of weeks ago. In terms of the next in-person meet towards the end of next year or the second half of next year, I think that you could possibly leave it open to your 3 pillars and see what interest there is at the time to present sort of like an abstract. You could submit to consider, how many people are interested to present on what, and then group, perhaps a group after that, or there could be an opportunity to learn from those who are working in the revitalization space. And I can see total merit in focusing on the first 2, but it's nice to have the opportunity if everyone's getting together to talk about projects being done. And the last point I wanted to talk about was the question of where and the co-funding model. Some experience, it would seem to me that we should think about where is the easiest place in terms of visa requirements for everybody to travel to. So, obviously there's the cost component, but it can be so prohibitive to travel for some people, and other countries are much easier to travel to. I'm thinking, not that I'm suggesting Argentina, I'm just saying that it's an easy place generally to travel to relative to Australia, which can be somewhat difficult for colleagues coming from far away, from some different people. So I think that should be a consideration, and that potentially the co-funding model, you've obviously had a lot more experience with this, but depending on, who has the possibility to host, maybe the funding can also come from other places, not just that university. It might be that that's the easiest place to get to for everybody, but it's resource poor in terms of accessing funding to pay for an initiative like this, whereas you may have wealthier institutions that have, you know, pots of money that you can apply for to fund this type of thing. So I just wonder if, you know, being open to those sort of different combinations.
Good point. Good point. I think we'd all love to go to Argentina. The problem is it's far away for those coming from Asia.
I'm not suggesting.
I would personally love to.
I was just making the point that I know that for colleagues traveling internationally,
yeah,
getting a visa to go to Argentina is often easier than somewhere like Australia.
Yeah, that's certainly true visa-wise, and maybe this is a good point to bring up. IES, my Institute in Leiden, is hosting this network to some degree and co-supporting it. And one of the big, let's say, philosophical principles of IES is South-South-North, which means that we're a global network with lots of teams from the global South, and we want to sort of go beyond this model where this colonial model, right, where the North is always telling the South, teaching and telling them, you know, our network is going beyond that. So there's a lot to learn on a South-South level, and the North can learn from the South. So we want learning in all directions. So it makes total sense to, let's say, organize the next meeting in Latin America. We will hopefully have also more African teams in the future. We have a lot of teams in Asia already, so that's really great. And we believe the learning should go in all directions. So in that sense, it makes total sense. In that context, it makes total sense to have an event in Latin America. I hope we get the financing to allow that. Yeah. Who else? Oui.
Yeah, hello Paul, hello Satya, hello everyone. Thank you for this opportunity, because the meeting in Bangkok that was attended by Professor Kemas, and he has a very busy schedule, and I haven't had any opportunity to go further, actually, although we are discussing a lot about our case in Muntok in West Bangka. And I'm looking forward to go to Surabaya, and I'm encouraging my team members also to attend. And I'm also very happy to see some fellow Indonesians, I think, from Kapuas, which I've never met before. Salam kenal. I think it's good to focus on the two components, although I'm also very curious to learn on river revitalization. And I think in the meantime, we're just doing our best to do the most for the river in West Bangka. And maybe a question, if there are cases related to mining and a small river on a remote location, I would be very happy to connect. I think that's it.
Nice, thank you. And this, I see also a post from Catherine on the chat about the AR/VR exhibition. This would be a great thing to post on the blog also. So please send us this info for the blog. And maybe, Thomas, what we can do is every time we get a blog contribution, that we circulate that to the network, so people know there's a blog contribution made. I guess there's a way to do that quite easy, right?
Yeah, of course. And maybe if there's already been something being written elsewhere, if you have yourself, you have blogs, maybe it's interesting to share that as well on the RCN network site. So maybe there's already something interesting information there, and we can share that with copying the content and having a direct link to the source. Maybe this will help also maybe to aggregate some interesting information and blog posts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you, Wiwi, for your contribution. So the blog post we have now is on an event that Anuradha, I saw her before, maybe she's left the meeting, but her institute in Delhi organized this really interesting event to which they helped to fund people from other teams in Asia from RCN. So that was a really wonderful initiative, actually. And I'm sorry that she left the meeting. But that's a great example of something that we should put in the blog, right? Things that you do, things that you organize, updates, etc., etc. That's wonderful. Okay, thanks, Catherine. Mandy?
This is a little bit on the side, but I've been involved in a global estuary monitoring program for pharmaceuticals, but they're inviting anybody who has access to a river in the estuarine area to come involved. And it's based in Hong Kong, and they send you little sample kits, and you can take samples and you send them back, and they do the analyses of 60 different active pharmaceuticals. So you get information on your river system that would cost thousands and thousands of dollars to do. So I'm just going to put in the chat, because if people have got a little bit of a science base to them, I've done it for 2 rivers here, and it was fairly straightforward if you've done a little bit of water quality work before, and it'd be really nice to see sort of the range of rivers that are represented here in the River Cities network, also having the opportunity to connect. So it's a little bit on the side. So if you don't mind and you think it's a good idea, I'll just pop the link in the meeting chat if you want, Paul.
Can you
I think
send it? Can you put it on the blog, Mandy? Because the chat will be down in when we finish this meeting. But
yeah.
the blog it will
Okay.
be more permanent. Yeah. That's
Okay, I'll
wonderful.
just
Thank
flick it
you.
there. I've already written it. Yeah. And I think if you're involved, you also will get your name on a publication. So it takes a bit of work, but there's a good incentive there. So I'll find the blog. I'll pop it there now. Thanks.
Perfect. Thank you. And very important. I saw CT had her hand up, but maybe you took it down, CT?
Okay. Hi, everyone. Sorry, we missed the Bangkok meeting, so we're not really aware about the group meeting or something like that. But we would like to know more actually about the conversation on river revitalization. So there is many information about Mahakam River, but not yet in the context of revitalization. So it's really important for us to, and I think it's similar also with the, we also have experience on coal mine. The first, the second is I really excited to meet all of you who will join Surabaya meeting. So I think it's important maybe for Indonesian, because we are like each island have different river. So but even in one island also we have like the connection of river. Just thinking how we can organize ourselves as Indonesians to setting them, so then we can get the experience sharing, but also how the pictures Indonesian itself in the context of river issues. That just because we will meet on July, right? We still have time to have connection or discuss each other. That's from me, Paul. Thank you.
Terima kasih, Siti. Thank you. And that's a good point. We also discussed that in Bangkok. Maybe there are some regional groupings or national groupings that would make sense, right? Indonesia is a country with lots of teams. India, Balkans, maybe it makes sense to have geographical groupings also. So that would be another idea, right? To learn from each other within the same country or region. Latin America, of course, a huge region. But if it makes sense, then why not? It's almost an hour since we started. I don't know. We should do this more often, but I don't know if there's any other points. Okay, hand up from Ibu Mira.
Yeah. Okay. Hi, everyone. I have a question because we are working on two approaches. First approach, we try to follow the format from RCN Global, which is producing river bio and river mapping and river revitalization. But in other way, we also have a demand from our case study, because we are working on one case which is declared as which was experienced very severe flood, and it's in Borneo in West Kalimantan, and it's declared as a national disaster. And now the stakeholders are working together to produce some mitigation plan and also adaptation plan and we kind of working in a pragmatic way, but we also try to we have also vision to develop theoretical base for, since we are always reading something from using Western approaches in seeing how we use theory from Western. So I think we also work in research base and we work also in practical way. About last week, we went to our project and we do some focus group discussions with local people, and there are so many fruitful insights from them and it's kind of urgent for us to helping them to develop to form some like plan for short term, what to do in case the same flood happens in the future moment. And and about these three approaches, we also want to ask you about which kind of urban issues or urban community issues that we can adopt in, like for example, in our case, our river is huge because we are in Kapuas River. So river revitalization is kind of a very long-term vision, but we also think about how to prepare this resiliency for cities, not only for river. We need to think also about the city revitalization, because we talk about river in terms of its connection with cities. Yeah, I think that's.
Okay, I think some very interesting points and questions. Difficult to answer, I think, but I would say your experience now with the disaster would be something very interesting to share, what you're doing, the questions that you have. So again, I would like to encourage you at least to do a blog post, but perhaps even to present, right? Present your experience, and we can see how the other teams can come with suggestions, perhaps lessons, perhaps some experience. So I think that's the presentation would be the best vehicle for this, perhaps, in addition to a blog post. So I would really definitely encourage you to do that. So thanks for that contribution. I'm looking at Satya. Is there anything else we need to cover? If not, if there's no other points or suggestions at this point, then let's close off here with the understanding that a couple of us will see each other very soon, either in Udine in Italy, if not in Surabaya, Indonesia, online, of course, and then onwards and upwards to the next event. We look forward to working with all of you on this. So thanks so much for joining.
Thank you all.
And keep the blogs and the suggestions, the questions, and the presentations coming.
Very nice seeing you all.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Thank you for
Bye. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Great to see you all. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.